Opinion: Why Macron wants to see his bulging biceps. Photos of French President Emmanuel Macron hitting a boxing bag have caused amusement. Paris CNN. Were they real? Most people's first reaction when viewing French President Emmanuel Macron's moody black and white boxing photos this week was to question their authenticity. Had the burgeoning presidential biceps veins pumping been swollen artificially? On social media, some wondered if they were AI generated or the result of creative photoshoppings. But the images were from the president. A personal photographer asked about the cynics questioning her work. She dismissed them. The social media meme factory cranked into action. Macron was mocked up as Poppy, the spinach-eating sailor superhero. He was compared to Raging Bull Jake LaMotta. Less flattering photos of his arms were located and placed side by side. Your profile picture versus real life, wrote one. Real boxing coaches critique his technique, but the images invited much larger questions. So why has he done this and why now? The first part of the answer is that the 46-year-old has always been adept at making himself the center of the conversation since his first steps into politics in 2014. The self-styled disruptor knew how to harness the power of provocation. Politicians fear nothing more than irrelevance. He always been sporty too. His soccer days are long gone and he finds little time for his beloved tennis. But he has boxed in the gym at the presidential palace since winning power in 2017, sometimes taking eyes or bodyguards as sparring partners. Getting the French moving is one of his current national causes ahead of the Paris Olympics this year. In January, he posted a video online boxing gloves slung over his shoulder, urging French people to do 30 minutes of exercise a day. One of the moody photos of French President Emmanuel Macron boxing released this week. But the photos said something larger. This was Macron prompt up, ready for the fight, with the teeth gritted. Everywhere he looks at present, the centrist sees battles, most of them slipping away from him. The rocky president might be in good shape physically, but he's politically and diplomatically finished in the corner. His second term in office, won 2 years ago with minimal campaigning, was immediately embroiling in the country's worst protest in decades and has drifted since. Despite all offense against the anti-immigration party for far-right leader Marine Le Pen in recent months, the polls keep getting worse. Le Pen's party is on track to win elections for the European Parliament in June again, with a possible 10-point winning margin. No serious commentator excludes the idea of her succeeding Macron in 2027 anymore. By some estimate, she and her protege, 28-year-old Jordan Bardella, are the second and third most popular politicians in the country. The French economy is also on the slide, risking a blowout of public finances. Macron convened senior ministers and allies for dinner this week, arguing them over a seafood buffet to find ways to cut spending. Bigger foes loom to the east and west. Many observers concluded the cliched boxing photos were a message to the black belt judoka in the Kremlin. Russian President Vladimir Putin, a master of the stage's display of male virility, whether it be bare-chested horse riding or spear-fishing. A drop in the ocean. President Emmanuel Macron visited the submarine. Looked terrible. Off the Brittany coast in 2017. Macron has plenty of previous form in this domain too, once posting a video of himself being lowered onto a nuclear submarine by helicopter, having spent months trying to avert war in Ukraine by sweet-taking Putin. Macron has transformed himself into Europe's alpha defense hawk in recent months. Long gone are the days when he worried about humiliating the former KGB man and would chide Eastern European nations as warmongers. In late February, Macron refuses to rule out sending troops to Ukraine, sending a shockwave through European capitals. At the same time, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, a political punching bag at home, whose perceived weakness infuriated Macron, was refusing to deliver long-range missiles to Kiev. The infamous lengthy handshake between then US President Donald Trump and the French President Emmanuel Macron on the sidelines of the NATO summit in Brussels in 2017. Like leaders across the EU, Macron is also preparing for the possible return of Donald Trump to the White House. The French leader concluded that strength was the only language his bulky US counterpart understood during his first term in the White House. Handshakes between the two men were akin to wrestling matches, Macron once squeezing Trump's knuckles so hard they turned white. By temperament, former investment banker is risk taker by instinct. He likes being on the front foot. He might appear to be on the ropes with the troubles mounting in Paris, Kiev, and Washington, but he wants us to know that he's keep on swinging.